A very good morning everyone. Today we'll be studying the next unit, that is unit 6 of our course AGCON 302. Herein we will be talking about this particular headline and its associated contents, that is what is farm planning and what is budgeting. So let's begin. The content for this particular lecture is, here we'll be studying what is farm planning, what is farm budgeting, and its two types. And third type, that is linear programming, we'll be continuing about it in part 2 of this unit's lecture. Okay, so let's begin. What is farm planning? It's a simple term and the meaning is is simpler. It is just a program of all the activities that we will be doing in the coming year. So we are writing about those activities we'll be doing in the coming year in advance. Okay, it is just a program, it is a list of jobs that we are supposed to do in the coming year. Okay, it includes it is kind of a decision making process of the farm, that what are we going to do, we going to do. It is a comprehensive it is a systematic work we are doing. It is not just like noting down on a paper. We are doing everything systematically, what is to be done and how it is to be done. Okay, also it can be defined as organization and management of limited resources to realize specified goals. Generally specified goal of a farmer is of maximum profits. Okay, and in the long run there are different objectives of a farmer, because most of the resources with the farmers are limited. So most of the farmers have a limited amount of land, limited amount of irrigation water, limited amount of labor available with them, limited amount of cash available with them. Because these things are the limitations of the farmer, he has to manage these things in a proper manner so that he can get maximum profits. Alright, farm planning includes selecting the most profitable enterprise or course of action. That means what the action he will be doing. There are several alternatives with the farmer, but he will be doing those things which are going to be the best out of the possible choices he has. Okay, best means again most profitable. Okay, so let's begin with the objectives of farm planning. Generally, there are two aims of a farmer. One is in the long term and one is in the short term. In short term, every farmer wants to earn maximum amount of money they can from their farming. Okay, and in the long run, they want to increase the standard of living of themselves and their family. Standard of living means a better house, better means of transportation, healthcare facility. That means money. You can say electricity connection, and better flooring, or whatever you can imagine. These are the indications of a standard of living of a family. So everyone wants to increase the standard of living in the long run. It helps the farmer in the following ways. How does a farm plan helps a farmer? It helps in choosing the best possible occupation. Okay, what he should do, what enterprise should he choose, which crop he should go for, whether he should be going for raising a crop or livestock, which kind of livestock, based on his experience and his resource situation. Let's say he is experienced in terms of cultivating green crops, so he should stick to them most probably. If he doesn't have experience in cultivating vegetables, plus his resource situation is such that the quantity of irrigation water that is available with him is not enough for vegetable cultivation, so he should not naturally go for vegetable cultivation. Alright, so this helps in choosing the best possible enterprise according to his situation. Identifying the input needs. Let's say he wants to go for paddy and wheat cultivation. So he already has some experience, plus if he is going to plan ahead already, so he will be having a fair idea, or you can say more than a fair idea, of what is going to be the cost of those inputs, where they are going to come from, and when they are required. All these things are identified well in advance, so it reduces the risk involved in farming. Okay, credit needs. when he'll be needing money, and whether he will be having that money during those times of needs. So if he would be required to get some credit, or if he'll be needing some loan from somebody, whether he should go to a relative, whether he should go to a village trader, or whether he can go to a bank, identifying the credit needs for himself, his farming as, and his family needs as well. What will be his expected income after all the expenses? He went for paddy and wheat. He knows what is now he knows what are the input needs, what are his family requirements. Now what will be his profit in the end of the year? So according to that profit, he can plan for repaying the loans he has taken, and also he will have to assess the production and marketing cost. Then only he can know about the profit, also the consumption requirements. These things will be known well in advance. He will be having a very good idea about these things. So again, it reduces the uncertainty and the risk. Also, a farm plan can be adjusted to provide cash when it is needed in the future. Let's say something came up and the farmer needs cash. So he has he has things already planned. Let's say he has to pay for a marriage in their family or in somebody else's family. So he can modify his plan in advance, okay, according to the needs. An optimum farm plan will satisfy all the resource constraints. Resource constraints, that means whether he has, here I took the example of water scarcity. There is water scarcity, so he will be definitely making a plan where he will not be dependent on water a lot. Okay, according to his water situation, he will be choosing those enterprise which are fit for it. And what optimum farm will satisfy the resource constraints on the farm and will give out maximum profit. Understood? Now, what are the characteristics of a good farm plan? A farm plan should be flexible, that we should be able to change our farm plan as and when the need arises. Let's say water supply via canal on which the farmer was dependent has reduced. So he had already planned where to get required water from. Let's say he must have talked to a fellow farmer who has a tube well to supply water at these times. He had talked to them in advance. Okay, the choice of crop. Let's say the he got to know that monsoon this year will not be normal, so he can change the crops this year. So instead of going for wheat, he chose to go for rapeseed and mustard, which requires less water. Okay, maximum resource use efficiency. That means maximum output for the quantity of input available with him. This is the ultimate meaning of this resource use efficiency. A good farm plan, as I told earlier, it will tell you when you will be needing credit, and so that you can prepare yourself in advance to get that credit. Wait a second, please. You can prepare in advance for getting that credit. It covers the risk and uncertainty involved in farming. A good farm plan generally involves different types of risks and different types of uncertainty. These two words are different actually. A risk is a situation when outcomes of any event are three. Let's say there are three possible situations that can come out of a particular situation, but to those three situations we can assign a level of probability. There are 20% chances that A will happen, 30% chances that B will happen, and 40% chances that 3C is going to happen. Okay, but in case of uncertainty, we cannot assign any probability. Any out of these can happen. Okay, and we don't know which one will happen. We are not sure about any of them. Okay, risk. Let's say there is a price risk. Let's say there is a price risk. So what can be done to avoid this price risk? We can go for building a storage facility in advance. We can, it might be a low cost storage facility, but it definitely can save a farmer from low prices. Okay, uncertainty is generally the most uncertain situation for the farmer is about the weather or rainfall, erratic weather, whether there is hailstorm. So how can he save himself from this kind of situation? See, there is not much a farmer can do to save themselves from such kind of a situation, but these days there are facilities that will let you know, with a certainty, with a little bit of certainty, that weather is not going to be okay this time of the year. So you should be you should complete your sowing within so and so days. After these days there might be a hailstorm. So these weather forecasts that are done by the government departments and some private departments also help the farmer in sowing decisions, harvesting decisions. All right, so all this farm planning, and also the ultimate objective of a good farm planning, it should maximize the profit. So these are the characteristics of a good farm plan. You should be making a farm plan according to your resource constraints, according to your experiences. That farm plan does cover your risks and uncertainty, because you have prepared for storage facility. You have prepared yourself for timely credit availing facility. You are maximizing your resource use efficiency. You have already talked to a farmer who is going to supply you water in case of scarcity of rain. So these are the characteristics of a good farm plan. What are the components of farm planning? What are the actual components, how we should proceed in terms of farm planning? First one is our objective. What are we Why are we planning, why are we doing this activity of farm planning? What do we want from our farm? As I told you, maximum profits in the short run, and in the long run, higher standard of living. Again, the next step would be, what do we have, what kind of resources we have, how much water do we have, how much labor do we have, how much seeds do we have already, how much agrochemicals do we have, okay, how much machinery do we have, how much capital do we have, how much money is there with us. We have to we have to assess our situation first. Then according to our situation, we will be going to what kind of enterprises can we follow, which crops can we grow, whether we should be looking at some things which are out of our reach, or we should not be looking at them. Okay, actually alternative choices are based on what is our resource situation. Then out of these alternative choices, we are supposed to calculate input output coefficients. Input output coefficients mean how much of output for a unit of scarce input in each of the alternative options. Let's say the scarce input with us is manpower or irrigation water. These are the scarce resources with us. So we will be evaluating alternatives which will be giving maximum output. Let's say we have three choices A, B, C, and per unit of this scarce resource, let's say we have only 10 units of 5 people to work, and per manpower, alternative A gives us an income of, how much is it? 10 lakh rupees. This one will give us 12 lakh rupees. This one will give us 13 lakh rupees by selling the output. So we should definitely go for option C, because taking care of our scarce resource, this option is giving us maximum returns. Then how should we make these decisions? There are different techniques based on which, using which we can make these decisions. So let's discuss these components in detail now. Statement of objective function, that what do we want from our farm? Profit maximization plus family requirements plus fodder needs or some other needs, some basic needs we have. Basic needs need to be written down, because different farmers have different requirements. Some families are big, so they might require more cereals. Some families don't have any kind of livestock, so they won't need any fodder. So in the long run, what was the main objective? Standard of living, increasing the standard of living. Inventory of the resources and constraints. Constraints means scarcity of those resources. Let's say I have resources, my resources land, and the constraint is I have only 10 hectares of land. Okay, this is a constraint. So I should be planning for enterprises in such a manner that from these 10 hectares of land I should get maximum money. What are the resources we have? We should be, we should be writing down about land. What is its location, topography, whether it is undulated or plain, what is the soil types which decides the crops to be grown, varieties to be grown, what is the fertility status, what is the drainage status, irrigation systems. These all affect enterprise choice. That means what can we do on that field, how much labor do we have, what kind of labor, hired or family labor, their availability at which time of the year, what are they trained in doing, what is their capacity, how much they can work, and what is the cost. Okay, so these also help us in deciding whether we should be choosing this or this alternative. Capital, there are two types of capital: circulating, that is the cash we have in our hand or in our bank, that will be used for crop production, buying buying inputs. Fixed capital, whether, let's say we have chosen an enterprise for which we do not have any machines for harvesting, for sowing, and those machines are not available in the village also, so we should not be going for that enterprise. We should be, planning things according to the assets we have or the assets that can be at least hired. Okay, how much building do we have? So if we only have one building with one room and no other storage facility, so we should not be growing a crop that needs storage. Okay, what kind of equipments we have, what kind of tools we have. Personal, what is my experience? This is of, most important. This is the most important thing. If I am not experienced at all, and if I do not have a positive attitude that I can take the risk, bear the uncertainties, and if I do not have a positive attitude, so I should not be going for a new enterprise. One, I don't have experience, plus I am not positive about it, so I should definitely not be going for new enterprise at all. Okay, institutional factors also affect the choice of enterprise. How it does affect? Let's say our area is suitable for sugarcane, but sugarcane is generally sold to sugar mills, and those sugar mills buy sugarcane as part of contract from the farmer. So if you are growing sugarcane and you don't have a buying contract from the sugar mill, so there is no point in growing sugarcane in that area, because this that is the biggest buyer that pays you the highest price. So if you are not associated with them, so there is no point in going for sugarcane. Plus, if you were already a sugarcane farmer and the sugar mill is not paying you on time, so whether you should be continuing growing sugarcane. Okay, uh, your area is suitable for poppy cultivation, but it is either banned or it had a limited amount of crop can be grown, and that limited amount is already being grown by someone else, so there is no point in going for poppy cultivation. So you should also be looking at these institutional factors. Let's say there is one more example for this. In the earlier times, tobacco was grown by many people near Hisar, but it was taxable. Government used to fine people who were growing tobacco more than a limit. So you should also be choosing your enterprise taking care of these kind of regulations, whether you are supposed to grow those crops there or not. Rotations, as some people might have fodder needs, so minimum area under specific crop, minimum area under fodder crops should be there, so that the fodder requirements of the livestock enterprise are fulfilled, and you do not need to buy fodder from the open market. This maximum minimum area should be specified. Plus, maintaining the soil fertility, controlling the pest and diseases. You should not be growing the same crop again and again, which is going to create scarcity of particular type of nutrients in the soil. Plus, also if you're growing same variety, same crop again and again, so the incidence of pest and diseases can increase a lot. Okay, now coming to the next step, what choices do we have? What are the alternative choices? A comprehensive list of different alternatives of crops and livestock according to our resource constraint that we discussed in step 2. Okay, that according to our situation we can choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of these enterprises we can choose, and for these enterprises we are going to calculate input output coefficients, that how much output for a unit of scarce input we are going to get out of these options. Okay, as I told you with an example here, 1, 2, 3, this example. Okay, let's say the scarce input we are talking about is land, and we have 1, 2, 3. There are 3 crop rotation choices, either 1, 2 or 3, and out of these the third choice is most profitable. It is going to give you 12 lakh rupees. Okay, so we should naturally be going for the third crop rotation, because land is our ultimate constraint, ultimate scarce resource. Returns per unit of each enterprise per acre return will be, let's say if we are having 12 acres of land, we will be earning 1 lakh rupees per acre. It is extremely important to have good estimates, because these are the final choice, these are the final decision makers. Plus, let's say we have identified all these things, we have got input output coefficients. What this figure tells us, this figure actually came out of something called as a planning technique. This technique is, I'll be discussing it later on. See, after deciding the input output coefficients, there are planning techniques to decide out of these things. What are those planning techniques? There are three techniques. One is common sense, second one is budgeting, third one is linear programming. So common sense is the easiest. Because of my experience, I know which of the three crop rotations will be good for my area or for my situation. Out of common sense we can decide, and it does give a good estimate. Okay, but budgeting, if you are going to go for budgeting, you will have to take care of the prices of inputs, what are you going to put in, what you are going to get out of it. This is more, I can say, more rational, more informed, because you will be having everything on paper and you can see the actual figures you will be having in your pocket after 1 year of your work. This common sense does not work well, because people, let's say if I have a fair idea that I'll be earning only 1 lakh rupees after 1 year of my hard work, which I got to know from budgeting technique, then I'll not be choosing that enterprise. Okay, and most of the farmer are doing the same, grain crop rotation of rice, wheat again and again, without counting actual costs and returns. If they do write down and if they do plan, I am quite sure that they will not follow this rice wheat rotation, or they will not certainly go for cotton crop, because there is a lot of input but output is not so much. So there are three techniques. Common sense, we will not be discussing common sense because it is common, and there is not much of text associated with this thing. Let's go with budgeting. There are different types of budgeting techniques. Okay, first let's discuss the steps in farm planning. Those were the components. These are the steps. First, planning, 5 steps that we have discussed already. Then, after planning and choosing which is the best option, we should implement it. Best option is selected and implemented, and we have started the work. Then we should go for control. We should be observing if we are reaching our goals that we had decided. Are these goals being met or not? If there are any kind of problem, price related problems or other supply related problems of input or any other things, input or labor or machinery, whether the actual returns, results or actual returns were less than the expected, more than the expected. If there are any kind of problem, we should continuously be continuously writing down the feedback, and again we should put them into planning phase for the next year also. Or if we can make changes in the current plan, or definitely for the next plan. This farm planning is actually a continuous cycle wherein we plan, implement, monitor, record the progress, problems, and re-evaluate. Okay, and make changes. Make changes in the upcoming plan or in the same plan, then again implement these kind of things. We keep on doing it. Is a continuous cycle. As you can see here, planning, alternative plans, we selected the best plan, implemented it, then again control, wherein we monitor and evaluate what is going on right now. Are the objectives being achieved? Yes, it's fine. If it is not being achieved, then is there a solution with the farmer? If yes, then he should implement the solution. If he does not have a solution, we should again go for planning. Okay, this is feedback that should keep on coming from all these steps. Farm budgeting. Now we have completed farm planning, and farm budgeting was a technique of making decisions after farm planning. Based on numbers, which enterprise should we choose? So, based on numbers, I said, when we express our farm plan in monetary terms, in money terms, by estimating the money we are going to get out of those enterprises, the expenses we are going to incur, and the actual profit we are going to get out of those enterprises. So this is farm budgeting, expressing the farm plan in monetary terms. Types of farm budgeting, there are actually three types of farm budgeting. Partial farm budgeting, where we are making small changes in our farm plan. Small changes, that means we are changing crops, we are changing inputs. Let's say in place of machine labor, we are using human labor. We are increasing the size of production of some crops and reducing the size of production of other crops. Enterprise budgeting, let's say enterprise, we are going to cultivate wheat, so herein we will be estimating all the expenses, receipts, that the money we are going to get, and profit. Okay, plus complete budgeting, this is for a new farm, wherein we are actually going for making a new farm or overhauling the old farm. So let's discuss them one by one. What is partial budgeting? Partial budgeting is used to calculate expected change in profit. Okay, when we are making a small change in our farm plan, there will be definitely a small change in our profits also. It might be less, profit might reduce, or it might go up. It includes only those items that will change. Okay, those items that will change, and the change in value of these, we are supposed to estimate these four things only. Added cost, because of the change there are some additions in cost, there are some reduction in the money we are going to get, a reduction in returns. So these things reduce profit. Because of the change, the returns might increase, and because of the change, the costs might reduce. These things increase profit. So final result, what was the change in profit? Added returns plus reduced cost, this one which increases profit. Added cost plus reduced returns, what reduces profit? Whether the result is positive, negative, or what was its value, this is being calculated by partial budgeting. Okay, let's see an example out of it. Enterprise substitution, as I told you in the earlier slide, what are the actual situations where we apply partial budgeting? Let's say we are going to substitute 1 acre of paddy with 1 acre of sugarcane. What are the added cost, added returns, reduced cost, reduced returns after substituting this enterprise? Input substitution. We are using machinery labor instead of manual labor for harvesting right now. What will be change in what will be the change in cost and returns? Size of scale of operation, buying or renting additional land or machinery, whether we should increase our production, increase our cultivation of crops by either buying or renting land. What will be its effect on cost and returns? This is also being done by can also be done by partial budgeting. Let's see an example. we are thinking of making this change, that we should be cultivating 1 acre of pearl millet instead of 1 acre of cotton. So what will happen? Definitely the cost of cultivation of cotton is more than pearl millet, so there will not be any kind of added cost for cultivating pearl millet. Reduce the returns. Definitely the value of output of cotton is more than pearl millet, so the returns will be reduced by 15,000. Okay. Added returns, as I said, cotton is more remunerative crop because the output is more and the price of that output is more, so the returns are definitely going to be reduced. But what happens is, as we go for growing pearl millet, the cost of cultivation is far less than that of cotton. We will be saying 10,500 in labor only. Irrigation is far less used. Seed cost is less. Insecticide cost is less. Weedicide is less. Fertilizer required is less. Totally, we will be saving this much of money and we will be losing this much of money. So, profit, the change in profit will be added returns plus reduced cost. Added returns 0, reduced cost 17,250. So this is this figure. Added cost 0 and reduced return 15,000. So our profit will increase by 2,500. So this is what can be told by partial budgeting. I hope you get it now. Now comes enterprise budgeting. Enterprise budgeting is, enterprise is defined as a single crop or livestock commodity that we are producing on our farm. Herein, we will be estimating all the income we will be getting and all the expenses we have to make to, follow that enterprise. We have to grow that crop, to rear those livestock. Estimating all income and expenses with the specific associated with the specific enterprise to estimate the profits. Herein we will have to calculate the physical terms also, that is the input output coefficients, how much output we are going to get by putting the different quantities of input, and in value terms, okay, in rupee terms also. For a unit of particular activity, it is done for a unit, per unit. If you are going to cultivate 10 acres of wheat, so what you need to do is just do it for 1 acre and multiply it by 10. Okay, you don't need to do it for all the 10 acres. Let's say particular activities such as crops or different types of crops, it can be done for them. Livestock, whether there is a difference between the returns and expenses between different breeds of cows and buffaloes we are going to rear, which breed of which breed should we be cultivating in a poultry farm, whether we should be going for a layer farm or a broiler farm, whether we should be going for a beekeeping enterprise. So the cost and returns and ultimately the profit of all these things can be calculated using enterprise budgeting. Okay, it is also a prerequisite for complete farm budgeting and linear programming. Before we have to do enterprise budgeting of all different enterprises we are following on our farm. A farmer might be cultivating 3 different types of crops, so he has to do enterprise budgeting for all of them. So these are the prerequisites for complete farm budgeting. Okay, importance, it does tell about the relative profitability of all these options, which one is actually better for us, which is the best choice, where should we be investing our money and our time. Let's see with an example, enterprise budgeting of wheat. We will be getting returns from where? Main product, 21 quintals of wheat at this price we will be selling to the government at MSP, minimum support price. These much will be the returns out of the tudi we will getting, or you can say the stubble we will be getting for feeding our animals. We might use it at our home, we might sell it. I'm just taking an average amount. So these will be the total returns. Where will what are the costs we are going to incur on seed, fertilizer, plant protection chemicals, irrigation? All these things need to be listed down first. Okay, then total cost will be coming out at 24,114. All right, and net returns, the profits will be gross return, this minus total cost. So it will be coming out at 23,861. So this is how we can calculate the profitability of different types of choices we have. Okay, that is called as relative profitability. Now comes complete farm budgeting or complete budgeting. It estimates the all types of cost and returns for all different enterprises. In uh, enterprise budgeting, we did it for one. In complete budgeting, we do it for all the enterprises being carried out on the farm. Where it is used, it is generally used for beginners, we who are new farmers. You are seeing many new farmer techies who are taking up farming these days, people who are buying new land and cultivating crops themselves. So they do need to know have an need to have an idea where they need to spend the money, what will be their expenses and what will be their returns. So this complete budgeting helps them in this manner. Okay, what money, how much money they will be making. Complete overhaul of a farm, where we are going to change a lot of things on the farm. Okay, we are going to change the layout of the farm. We are going to, let's say we are going to shift from green crops to dairy. So definitely we'll be making a lot of changes. So this complete budgeting helps in that, helps in getting to know about the profit we'll be making after these changes. Comparing alternatives, definitely again for complete overhaul we have different options. We might be going for poultry, orchard, dairy, different types of crops. So we can compare different alternatives that are open to us, alternatives that are open to us, that means that which we can follow, and then compare them in rupee terms directly. Profitability and capital required. Profitability directly here, capital required, how much money will be required to follow these enterprises. This is actually in the capital requirement as also not in just the money terms but in the machinery terms also. Different tools, different implements will be required. Okay, so we can get to these this complete farm budgeting is helpful for us in these manners. Okay, for beginners, for complete overhaul, for comparing different alternatives, for checking the profitability of different alternatives, and if there are some capital requirement we can account for them also, and we can see whether we can make for those capital requirements. Now let's see an example of a complete budgeting of 10-acre farm. Somebody has got a new 10-acre farm and he has decided according to his physical environment that he can cultivate these crops: wheat, cotton, sorghum and dairy products. Let's see, he has come up to this point that these are the best crops he can cultivate according to his requirements. According to his requirements. This is very important. Okay, he might have different types of constraints, that's why he has chosen these crops. Okay, constraints regarding water, labor, day, home requirements at home, requirements for feed and fodder. So he chose these. This much of income he will be getting, he will be making enterprise budget for all these. Okay, and these figures will come from enterprise budgets. The total he will be making 4.8 lakhs in returns. The variable expenses also will be coming from what was that, enterprise budgets of those individual enterprises. Okay, fixed expenses, the basic investment he will have to make whether he will be cultivating any crop or not. Okay, fixed expenses on land revenue, the taxes he has to pay to the government, depreciation on machinery and other fixed assets, interest on fixed capital assets. So net farm income after making all those enterprise budgets, he came to know that he will be making this much amount of pure profits. Understood? So whether he should be going for these crops or not, this figure can tell us, can tell him. He can see well in advance how much money he is making. So this is how it is helpful. So what are the steps? How did we come to this total these figures? What are the steps did we follow for getting to this table. There are several steps in complete farm budgeting. In total, there are 11 steps we need to follow. Specification of technical coefficients, that means how much of input does gives how much of output. Improved farming methods and practices which can be applied to local conditions, we need to identify those things. What advancements can we do? Different enterprises according to our physical environment, according to the climate, according to our resource constraints. Different ways of cultivating a crop, or if we can change the manner of some of the let's say if there are any new machines for harvesting, for sowing, which can save both cost and give more returns. Okay, more returns that it harvesting better machinery can save, it can reduce the breakage of grains. Alright, we prefer most efficient method. We are looking for the best possible method which costs less and gives us the maximum output. Where are we going to get this information about the current advancements? How much of input from how much of output from how much of input? We are going to get this information from our fellow farmers, from research farms, demonstrations that are being conducted by the university, crop cutting experiments, or some extension workers. Second step is specification of appropriate prices. We are going to plan for future. Okay, so for inputs as well as for outputs, we are supposed to take some guess the prices of these inputs and outputs. What should be the prices? They should be the average of last 3 year prices. Okay, or we can use the forecast if they are available. Preparation of enterprise profitability chart simple. We should be preparing enterprise budgets. Okay, therein we will be having receipts, expenses, and profits from each of those options we have. Then comes preparation of a farm map. We should be deciding that, as I told you in the last lecture about the farm records, we have a physical farm record called a farm map. How we should be, deciding our boundaries of our field. Where should be our farmstead? Where should be our waterways? How, which kind of boundary should we be having? Water channels. These different types of things. These should be planned according to our needs. Inventory of our limited resources, definitely what kind of resources we have are going to decide what kind of options we have. List out all the resources: land, irrigation, labor, family. What is the quantity of family labor that is available with us? What are the hired labor quantity, their quality, what kind of work can they do, what is going to be the cost, working capital requirement, that is the cash that is available with you, experience, consumption requirements. These things need to be specified. Okay, examine the existing farm plan. What are the costs and returns of the existing farm plan? What is the problem in the existing farm plan? Exactly. After determining the cost and returns, what are the weaknesses in the existing farm plan? Whether we are using our land for less profitable crops, whether we are spending our money on a poor technology, or should we be spending on a new machine? Okay, these decisions of buying new machinery, replacing old machinery can be taken when you have something written, when you have some plus and minus that you are doing on some pages. Then you can see, actually you can see it will be better than a fair idea. Then you will be having some confidence whether you should be going for spending your money on your new machinery. Then comes out what are the risks involved with different enterprises and whether we can cope with those risks. Is is the crop we are planning having a irrigation or drainage problem? Whether the amount of water is easily available, or whether the drainage problem is not so much or less. Whether the insect pest problem, let's say we are going to go for cotton, but from the last 3 years there is a whitefly problem which is detrimental, it is too much. So whether we should be going for cotton or not. Okay, what are the ways out? If we, let's say, if we still go for cotton, what are the ways to tackle this problem? Whether we are having any information about the agrochemicals, which chemical should be sprayed at what time, preparation of alternative plans with the use of same resources and resource constraints. We should have some alternative plans. As I said, if there are some kind of institutional risk, price risks in the market, and let's say the might have opened government has already said that it will be opening Indian market to foreign oil seed. Foreign oil seed will be cheaper. Okay, then if you're if you're going to grow oil seed in the coming season, that means you will be getting less price. So you should be able to change. You should have an alternative to oil seed. You should be in a position to change your decisions. So let's revise what are the 11 steps in complete farm budgeting, technical coefficients, how much of output per unit of input. Alright, prices of inputs and outputs. Enterprise profitability chart, that means enterprise budgeting. Farm map, location of different things on your farm. They should be chosen wisely because it can cost you a lot if you didn't decide it properly, and it can save you a lot if you have put in a lot of mind in deciding which building should be where. Inventory of the resources we have and what are the constraints associated with those resources. Existing farm plan, their costs and returns. Weaknesses, what are the weak points, whether we are using our land for unprofitable crops, what mistakes are we making, what are the risks involved in the in the new things in the choices we have right now, whether there is a risk of pest and disease, prices, some institutional risk of import export policy, price risk or weather related risk or irrigation water related risk. These kind of things need to be specified, and we should have some alternative plans to tackle these risks. Alternative plans, as I told you about the import policy changes by the government for oil seeds, you can see it in advance that the prices will slump, so you should be growing some other crop. Analysis of alternative plans, what will be the cost and returns associated with those alternative plans, and how we are going to implement them. So this is all about part 1 of unit 6. If you will be having any doubts, we will be taking them up in the doubt classes. Thank you very much. This is the suggested reading for this lecture. If you want to know more about the topic, thank you very much.